Hello, and welcome to the DoneJS Contributors Meeting. Today is Friday, March 16th, 2018, also my birthday. My name is Chasen, and coming to you from Long Beach. Got a few people on the stream today. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Justin. Happy birthday, Chasen. I didn't even know.
Thank you.
I know.
So
I wanted to get a little party hat.
Yeah. Instead of looking like, 18, now you look like 19. So that's...
Yes. Matthew?
Hey, I'm Matthew. I've been in meetings with Jason for like the last 2 hours, and he's not said anything about his birthday, so I feel bad.
It's true. I waited to spring it on you guys live on air.
I'm Sheriff, and happy birthday, Jason.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So today we're going to talk about the results from our latest community survey, and then we'll go through some demos of what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. And then if there's any topics to discuss, we'll do that at the end. I'm going to get started with sharing my screen and talking about our survey. So we had just sent out a survey a week ago, and we got results back earlier this week. And just to give you some context, since our last survey, we shipped CanJS 4 and DoneJS 2, and we created the debugging guide on, we published the debugging guide on canjs.com, and we also published the forms guide as well. And Matthew has been working on improving our error messages and handling. I know there's a lot of stuff that has shipped, and there's a few more things that he's still working on that he's wrapping up in the next week or so. We've started working on KingQuery, and I've started working a little bit on the routing guide, and we plan on creating dev tools for CanJS and minimizing, with Steel, implementing tree shaking. So those are things from previous surveys that we want to tackle and plan on taking on these next 6 weeks. So with that in mind, let's talk about the results from our last survey. So this is how things panned out for the rankings. The testing guide came out on top. Tied for second or tied for third was the improved routing to components and then making CanJS tree shakeable. And then you can kind of see how things fell after that. So what we've talked about is this issue, the improved routing to components. This is related to like the pattern for kind of setting up the routing for your application and choosing like what component are you going to show depending on whatever your app state is.
Jason, can you zoom in when you're on those other pages?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Show stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So we think that that implementing this is going to actually inform the things that we show both in the routing guide and the testing guide. So I think we're going to probably take this first, and then we'll be able to work on I'll be able to work on the routing guide and the testing guide after that. And then kind of a same situation where we want to implement tree shaking for Steel.js, and implementing that for CanJS is also going to inform the decisions we make for Steel.
Jason, can I be super woke for a
Yes,
second?
please be woke.
We're all about intersectionality.
Yes, absolutely. And what better example of that than the proposals that we're taking on from these surveys? So I think the combo duo of or trio in the case of the routing and with the routing guide and the testing guide, and then tree shaking for Steel.js and CanJS will be the kind of big things that we take on top of DevTools and the work that's already been started on KingQuery. I think that's it. You guys want to say anything about the survey results or these issues or what have you?
I mean, I'm excited for them. I think having the testing and the routing guide will really round out what it takes to build most CanJS applications. Well, the data guide, I guess, too, once we eventually get to that. But putting that aside, when you can test and you can get the routing, there could be a million ways you do data, but having those guides in place, I think, will really make it so that most people can build a CanJS application the right way.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, as for my part, I think the tree shakeable stuff is pretty interesting. I don't know, do we have any topics today? Because if not, that would be an interesting one to talk about, just kind of what the role of the main can package should be. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about that last time.
Yeah, let's talk about that towards the end. Cool. Anything else? Sweet. Let's do demos. So I didn't quite prepare as I should have. But last week,
you're doing my demo. You just did my demo.
Am I doing your demo?
Oh, you did when you went back to the homepage.
Oh, I didn't want to. I don't want to.
Step on my toes.
I don't want to step on your toes, Justin.
Okay,
Why don't you demo first?
You gotta go to the homepage.
It was just a flash. People barely saw it.
Fine. Hopefully.
I think you should demo first, and then I'll follow up. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, the homepage is. Let's share my screen. I would say the homepage to reflect and hopefully explain a little bit more about to focus on why you should use CanJS, what CanJS is, and kind of how it accomplishes that. So to make it very clear, use CanJS to build rich web applications, and it provides state management templates, custom elements, and other things. The big change here is to focus on that CanJS makes it easy to do the common stuff like building widgets and routing, etc., while helping you do the very difficult things of user interface problems that you typically don't approach, integrating third-party widgets, those kind of things, being memory safe while doing that. That's kind of the stuff that CanJS helps you do. Shows now you can actually embed components directly in the CanJS site, which is really nice because I updated this actual site to use CanJS for. Shows a little demo, then kind of talks about the different ways that CanJS helps people build big applications at scale. And then the other thing that I wanted to demo was this new development skill tree, where I try to organize all of these guys. I do want to change the sidebar here to be a little bit better organized, probably follow the same titles that these have. But the idea here is if you're thinking about a certain problem and you want to learn how CanJS approaches it, I've organized the guides and also from kind of difficulty from left to right. So if you really want to learn how to do platform and integration stuff, continuous integration, that kind of thing, and testing, Place My Order is going to be the most advanced guide for how to do that. But to just start setting up CanJS with like a Webpack or Steel, well, then you're going to use the setting up CanJS guide. So if there's something that you're looking to learn, check this out, and hopefully we'll guide your way.
That's perfect. Thank you, Justin. All right, I'm going to pick up from there and briefly mention. We updated some of the, or we actually touched a lot of the guides on canjs.com and specifically the recipes. So all of these have been updated for 4.0. I think there's only one remaining, which is the advanced playlist editor guide, which I'm in the process of updating things to get that released. So there's not, I don't feel like there's really anything to show, just that those are all updated for 4.0. I also hosted a user study, a usability study yesterday. I had 2 participants come in and check out the site and give their feedback, and they went pretty well. I don't really have a whole lot to demo from that. Maybe I can point out, I'm not sure if this was demoed, But if you're setting up a new project, and maybe this isn't quite for the audience of this stream, but if you're setting up a new project with Steel or Webpack or Browserify or whatever, we've added example GitHub repos that you can clone to get started and have like the core CAN modules and Webpack or Steel or whatever set up for you. So these are really handy, especially for making little examples that don't quite fit on JSBin for reproducing bugs and stuff. So those are available too. I think that's all I have to demo. Matthew, do you have anything for us?
I do, and I literally just finished a slide while you were talking, so it's perfect timing. I've been working on error messaging and handling. So when we started on this, there's a proposal. This could go really far down the rabbit hole, so I should probably watch myself. Error handling. Yeah, when we started this, we knew that our error messages were not great, and there were some problems, and that DoneServe had some issues as well. So we kind of knew that we wanted to fix some stuff, and kind of threw out some ideas, and didn't really know where to go with this. So when I started working on it, I just kind of had to, start from scratch. And kind of where I landed is there was two parts to things I wanted to work on. First, I just want to work on error messaging, and messaging just means the actual error messages. So there's a lot of common reasons why you get error or why errors occur, and some of those we were not really catching and throwing good error messages for, especially in Steel. So what we want with messaging is they should be good. The error message should be good. They should include useful information. They should have a description of the problem, as clear as possible. Give possible causes if we can kind of guess of what the cause could be. Link to outside documentation that kind of can give more information, give screenshots and that kind of thing, and show the offending code. Like if there's an actual code error, show that. And a lot of times our stack traces were really noisy, especially in Steel, and just kind of clean those up. Actually, this is an interesting one because when I started working on this stuff, I've worked in this code a lot, but I'm not really kind of focused on what Steel was doing with errors. And what I found out is for common JS modules, it already did this thing where it would take your stack trace and it would remove all the Steel.js lines, which are just kind of internal Steel.js stuff that's not really relevant. But it didn't do that for ES modules. So common JS modules have, at least for when there's an error executing the module, there's always been a decent stack trace, I should say. Whereas with ES modules, it's been very noisy, and people get these and they think that, oh, there's a Steel bug, there's an error in Steel, but it's really an error in your code. It just looks like it's Steel because there's so much stack information from Steel. So that's the messaging side. The handling side is more about DoneServe and making sure that it's more resilient. It should be able to, you start up DoneServe, you have an error in your code. DoneServe should never be in a broken, or it should never be in a broken state that's not recoverable. And I'll show you that here in a second. And then, also we wanted to expose errors to the user in a better fashion, both in the console and in the browser. So yeah, that's that. So on the messaging side, I'm still working on some of these, but there's been a lot of releases in Steel. The first one I worked on was improving 404 errors. So basically, if you import a module that doesn't exist, it used to look like this. And kind of one thing I found out very early is that it would log the name of the, actually in this case, yeah, it would log the name of the module that was not found, and then it would also log the root module. So a lot of times people saw this and they thought there was a problem in their index.stash, but there actually wasn't any problem there. It was index.stash imported some other module like app.js, and that imported other, but you wouldn't really see that the error was coming from app.js here. And then you also get, like I was talking about before, you get the stack trace information from Steel, and this is all stuff related to Steel's promise polyfill mostly. So yeah, that's what it used to look like. And for this one, it got cleaned up to look like this. 404 not found. It tells you what module is missing. And then it shows, it gives a link to the error message. So if you go to this link, it gives more information, more like examples of what could be the problem. And then actually shows you the code in line of where this import is actually happening. And here at the bottom here, you see app.js line 6. If you click on that, it will take you to the code in Developer Tools. So that was a nice improvement. I did a few more of these. Package.json error messages, similar. In this case, this dependencies is not wrapped in quotes, so it's not valid JSON. So you get a good one there. This morning I worked on JSON, non-package.json, which is the same deal. You can see here that this is not wrapped in quotes, and it shows you it and tells you the line number and all that. And there's a couple more of these. Maybe those are the only ones listed here. I think there are a couple more. I'm going to write an article about this and kind of compile all the different error messages we've added. There's an improvement I needed for server rendering. I needed live reload to provide the error when an error occurs. So in 1.9, we added that behavior. If you're using live reload, which DoneSSR uses live reload internally, it will give you an error if there was one. That way you can like display an error message, or if there's not one, you just do what you normally do. Okay, last bit is the DoneJS part. So it's DoneJS app, and I'm just gonna try to break it in a couple of ways. Hopefully there's not a demo fail here. I'm gonna start by importing a module that doesn't exist, not a real module, and it's going to refresh the page. We get a little sample of the code, kind of like you saw from Steele, and the same link to the documentation, so we can actually click that, and it will take us to the documentation and give some example of possible causes. So there's that. I didn't spend a whole lot of time working on this formatting. I spent a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of time. So if anybody's a very good designer and wants to work on this, you can definitely get some improvements here, improve the stack trace and stuff. You also get the error down here, the same bits. This is the Fendian line. And it clears the console every time it prints it, because that was often a problem, is that there'd be a lot of logs and you couldn't tell what's like the current error message. So it just kind of it clears the console, but it doesn't actually delete anything. You know, you can still scroll up. It just kind of sets everything at the top here. Okay, so yeah, so now
Matthew, have you tested this in Windows?
Yes, I have.
How like there's just tools that can do that cross platforms nicely?
Do which part?
Like clearing your console and stuff like that.
Oh no, I have not tested that part. That part might not work in Windows, because there's a specific Unicode character, I think, that you do. We can try it out.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if like to
to
do that kind of thing you have to.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know if it works in the Windows console or not. There is a Unicode character that does it, so it's probably dependent on the terminal. So yes, you're right. I probably did not do that correctly. Okay, and once we fix it, we can reload, and everything works, and reload will continue to work like normal.
Once you fix it, do you have to reload?
What's that?
Once you fix it, do you have to reload?
Yeah, because let me show you. So this page. So actually, what happens here is, let me go back. You do have to reload here. Once you go here, like this is just a very simple HTML page. So it's not actually connected to the live reload server or anything. Just a really simple stuff. Yeah, one enhancement I thought of is having it.
Just telling people like how would they know when it's possibly fixed?
They can know from their console.
So the console says like working again.
Console will say that it reloaded the module.
Maybe you could tell people like you should make changes to your file, and then you should see that the console moves without putting another error.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be that a huge. Actually, it wouldn't be a huge thing to just add a script to this page that connects to the live reload server, and every time it gets a message, it just reloads the page. So I think that would actually be not that big of a deal to add. So I'll just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, maybe I just wonder if like people get if there's a point where people get so used to live reload working that they forget to refresh their browser after they've broken something.
Right.
You know, like everybody knows to do that right now, but you could get so into the people would just stare at it and be like, how do I know it's working?
Right, if you don't look at the console very often. Yes. Yeah, I can probably take care of that. I think I can probably get that in next week. Okay, what was I going to do? Yeah, so there's obviously different types of error messages that can happen. It always takes you back here, and it doesn't matter what it is. And then eventually you can fix it, and everything works. So DoneJS, so the Done server does stay alive. I feel like there's something else I wanted to show with this, but I can't remember exactly what it was. No, I don't think there is. Yeah, all this stuff is out now. I mean, there's no like big release. There's been a few new versions of Steel, which add better error messaging. So
how about this? What if you did a set interval? Do you see the like? I guess you'll see the like a timed out message that already did exist, right?
Yeah. Okay. Try that. Oh, you're talking about on the server?
Yeah, well, this would never allow the thing to end, right? So
yeah, what happens here? Uh-oh.
You gotta wait like 5 seconds, right?
Maybe it didn't. Let's see. Oh no, we just say the interval we don't listen to. So you'd have to be like.
Oh, we don't. Oh, it'd have to be a set timeout.
Yeah.
Oh, we just ignore intervals.
Yeah, for this reason.
You can do arguments.callee up there, or you can just set timeout here.
Suppose.
Past the time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Does that mean it's not working, or is it working? Actually, I can find out.
Could just change hello DoneJS to something too. Oh, so why is it working? Why is the SSR not like being like, hey?
I don't know.
Is because maybe SSR. Oh, because you know what, this happens once, and then you'd have to do it in the init of the view model.
You're probably going to find some way in which
you have to do it there. Yeah.
It's not working. All right, let's.
Now it should break. Is it? Is it not? Because you have to create an instance of the view model, right? Because if you just do it in your code only loads once, and the zones aren't set up when your code is loaded, but they are set up when the. There we go.
Okay, so now I reloaded. Am I getting a timeout? No, I'm not getting.
Anyways, let's look at this later. Yeah,
debugging on air is the best.
Yeah.
It's an interesting case. Yeah, I would expect. Let's just say what I would expect. I would expect a similar error message that you get in the client, which we're not getting right now, when the zone fails to load.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. The zone failed loading.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll look into why that's not happening. Hopefully, it's not too bad.
Another interesting one just to check would be like you make an AJAX request to a path that like doesn't actually work on the server because it's made to work on the client. You know, that's probably, I think, a common mistake to not get the URL rewriting right.
Okay. URL that only
You did a
works with-
relative URL or whatever. Like, how does it, you know, how does that work?
I think done SSR fixes those.
I think we do too, but like this is, I just feel like that's, I don't know. Anyways.
Long story short is that we have better error messaging, but there's still stuff that we don't, I guess.
The stuff that you demoed is so awesome, Matthew. Like,
thank you.
Just such a huge improvement over where we were at before.
Thank you. I didn't get to everything. I mean, I kind of wanted to do some CanJS errors as well, but didn't quite get there. Just so everyone knows that the error page, it's this DoneJS error format project. And like I said, I'll probably add, I better write that down. Live reload on error page. I'll add that capability here. But if you want to, if you're not using doneserve comes with this. But if you're not using doneserve, there's instructions on using it directly with DoneSSR. It's just a simple module for you pass in an error message, and then you can call .html, and it'll give you HTML back. It just makes it look like this. So you can use it with the middleware as well. If you're using Express, if you have your own Express, Express has a signature where if you provide 4 arguments, the first argument is an error. It's one of those arity kind of things, and then you can do the same kind of thing.
Does it only get called when there's an error if you put 4 signatures or arguments?
I believe so.
You don't have to check if it's null or something.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think it's one of those where it checks the number of arguments. Cool. That's all for me.
Thanks, Matthew.
All right. I don't know if I feel good after this or not. Now I'm like,
don't let the different scenarios take away from the awesomeness you should feel. It's really cool.
I could literally think of 1,000 ways to break.
You should write these down into issues.
Yeah. Take me too long.
Cool. Sheriff, did you have anything that you wanted to demo?
No, not for me. I don't have a demo.
I would like to just show off something on your behalf then, because it mattered very much to me that you were checking out our setting up instructions and the instructions for Browserify, like the code that we were showing for people to do didn't match up with the configuration that was required for getting it to work with Browserify, and you submitted a PR to our CanJS docs and to the example repo for Browserify and fixed things up. So yeah, thank you very much. That mattered a lot to me, especially because I did the usability studies yesterday, and they go through the setting up. So that was really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Did we want to talk about tree shaking a little bit, or were there any other topics that I didn't check the forum post? Were there any other topics that you guys wanted to talk about?
I said can query, but I can talk about that next time.
Okay. Cool. Matthew, did you want to talk about tree shaking stuff?
Yeah, not necessarily about tree shaking. Just let me see if I can find. I'll screen share.
Well, it's like what CanJS 5.0 would look like with tree shaking. How are we going to suggest? What are the docs going to look like?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yes, that's true. But it's also about yeah. So it's about this, right? This is what our goal is for CanJS, for the main can package, and like Justin said, is a lot of our docs do most of the docs. I thought most of the docs use the global can package.
No, none of our docs do.
Everything shows.
The guides do, right?
Yeah, the guides and recipes show using like can.dot for JSBin. Yeah.
Okay, so are people having problems? They're like looking at API docs, and that's where they're.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that came out of the usability study is that there's a mismatch between, like, we want to encourage people to have a good setup for a CanJS project with Steel.js or Webpack or another modular loader and bundler. And then our guides and our recipes that people are going to like first learn CanJS all show, you know, here's how you can do it in the JS bin with, you know, the can global script tag, and then everything is can.defineMap or can.component or whatever. So there's this mismatch between how we want to encourage people to build apps and what we're showing in our guides. And then that's further strained by the fact that all of our docs show like, oh, import the individual packages and then use it this way.
I would think that new users are not, hopefully don't have to go to the API docs that much. I would hope, I mean, obviously that's not the case, but I would hope that by the time you're using the API docs, you're familiar enough to where that's not a problem for you. You know what I mean? Seeing it be different. But,
yeah, they definitely refer to them in like going through a guide and saying like, oh, what is this can.defineMap? Checking out the docs, looking at the API signatures or whatever, and then going back.
I also think it's different because Jason, the way that you're doing the usability study is like build this, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Matthew? So maybe someone with a little bit more time would be like, okay, I'm actually gonna go through a few guides, and then then I'll eventually work my way to API docs. But the way that we're approaching this study is just like try to build something as fast as you can. So they're gonna end up using the API docs.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me that they do go to API docs like that. But
I would say they refer to them to look at like signatures and stuff to get more info about like, oh, what is this define map business or what have you.
Okay, well, anyways, yeah. So I guess what we're getting at is that we definitely want to do it. We want to change those to all come from the can package. And just assume that anyone that is doing it this way is advanced enough to not be blocked by that, I guess.
Well, so yeah, I mean, what do you want to talk about then?
Well, I want to talk about like what should be the role of the can package. Like,
yeah, to me, I think I come at it from like, what should the website look like, right? Like because that's in some ways our projection of two users. So the role of can package should fall out from what we want to project to people coming to the website. Yeah, how I'm framing it.
Well, okay.
We want it's almost like like I've talked about like us doing documentation driven development first, where it's like let's create a guide and then write the code for it, because that's like you think that way. That's like you have to explain it to people. You want to explain things in a way that people can make sense. They can make sense of it. But
is there? We've already kind of concluded what the website should look like.
No, right? I really don't. I mean, so yeah, like that's. I guess. Are we just going to show like? To me, and I kind of write this like questions in the questions and answering section down below. But so there's like kind of three places for docs. There's API docs. There's API docs. Right now we kind of have API docs, setup guides, and all the other like JS bin type guides, right? And those are like kind of the three different places. And what should we show in those different places?
Well, the API docs, I feel like we should choose one form for the code examples. Probably this form, but I feel like in all the API docs should say, when you're explaining can't define map, you can either do it like this or you can import it define map from can.
But then all the other examples should show.
I mean, I don't know.
Can't.
I don't know. I guess it's.
Yeah,
I guess
that's what
that's like the feedback from the. That's kind of the feedback from the testers, right? Is that they were confused by this.
They were confused specifically because both of them wanted to start a local CanJS project and then build something in their local environment instead of using JS bin as their project. which meant when they were going through the guides and like how to do stuff, there was the mismatch.
Yes. So they were seeing to import can-define map and
almost the reverse. They in the like guides they were seeing
Gotcha.
use can dot whatever, and in their local environment they had
can-define installed.
Where you could import with, you could have import statements for component and define and stuff.
Right.
Which, you know, maybe that means that.
Oh, wait, come in. Was the problem that it's required JS, or is the problem that it's with the package that it's coming from?
Just that
JS.
More like you can't copy paste code examples from the recipes into a local project that is using the individual can packages.
Gotcha.
So maybe part of this is that in the things that you set up, you're set up with just the can package, and we either show just importing can to make it easier for people to get started, or we show the like ES6 imports. What's it called when you like import the specific modules from a single?
A named export.
Named export.
Named export. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we talked about this a couple of days. I kind of feel like it should be this way, just because otherwise, I mean, it becomes a lot, right? I mean, especially what's it, it's like models. There's certain modules that you just wind up importing a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't know. I think for new users especially, this becomes a little easier to deal with. There's just one import, and then you just pluck out a few things. For component, you're going to have a component, a defined map. Well, you don't even need a defined map anymore for components.
Yeah, a lot of the time you can get away with just importing component, because you don't need to set up a stash for a view model separately, or like create new instances off defined map or stash.
So you're not talkative. What are you thinking? This is not normal for you. Let's go look to see what Vue should.
So Vue, yeah, I looked at what some of the other projects do, and Vue gets away with, they just have the view.
They don't show the
one view thing in their getting started. They start off with showing like script tags, and then progressively it gets more complex. Like in installation, they show script tag, and then a little bit higher, just above introduction in the nav.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get into the complexity of like using npm and module loaders and what have you. But they still have only the one like view.
They don't have an import statement. That's interesting. They're never really showing imports. They're just showing the view. Yeah. They're assuming that you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Which I guess is fine, because everything's coming from the Vue package anyways. I don't know if they have, well, I think they do have separate stuff.
And I think that's the same for React too. They can get away with just showing like React DOM or React. And they recommend like, oh, open this JS fiddle to get started, and those variables are just available to you. So all of their docs are consistent, and they don't have to show import statements.
Right.
And then Ember's different in that they recommend using their CLI to get everything set up. So then they have the import statements to individual packages like we do right now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and as far as I know, they don't have like you can follow these guides or whatever with in your browser.
I guess to me, I still think then, I mean, one solution, the solution to me seems like if we want to be able to work with JS bins, well, script tags is the hardest one, actually. Because with JS bin, we could probably somehow get Steal there and get like import statements or whatever, get that working. but with a script tag, it's hard.
There's JS bin alternatives that have, that have module loading included.
Yeah, but the real problem is script tags, because script tags you're always going to need, unless we're going to like actually take everything on can and write it to the window, which I think would be nuts.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea either.
So that people could just do component, I mean, that if we're not going to do that, then there's always going to be that can dot for script tags.
Yeah.
But so to me, it's like, so say take this, they're building their app, and it's just the problem was they couldn't use the guides code. But were they setting it up with like script? How did they want to set it up, Jason? Did they just want to like go script tag? How do people want to like get started?
They wanted, I think both of them yesterday got started by following the Steel.js setting up instructions. And then from the previous user study, I think they both tried to set it up with Webpack, if I remember correctly. And
okay.
then...
So I guess my point with that is, though, we should just make all of our examples just import can into the...
So I was going to say, you could do it this way, and then if you do that, then when you copy and paste, it's going to be the same for a script tag. And it's going to be can.component.
Yeah, but then we don't want to show that, because then they get everything. Like if we're doing the global build, then they get like the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to I don't want to make that the example of code. So I guess what I'd rather do is just make it so all of our JS bins have an import statement like that, and just import and just figure out how to make that work. If that's possible, if we can figure out how to do that,
Yeah, and if there are other like online code editing services that make that possible, then
yeah, I think there are.
Because then at least we can be consistent, right?
I think that's the big thing.
I think there's two different problems here. There's like the consistency problem, and then there's like having to do a lot of require statements, and they're kind of like related, but they're not. There's definitely two distinct problems we're trying to address in two different ways.
Well, if we do, so wait, what did we just say? So
I guess what I'm saying is,
we did say we're going to use the can package in examples, though, right? We did say that. Well,
to me, it's examples is different than really to me. Yeah, I think that's fine. But really, the question is, what we show in API docs? Do we show importing can in API docs? Or do we show like importing the actual package? And then do we keep our sidebar still package names? Or do we show define map like we did in 2.3?
It'd be cool if we could like have a tab that switched it.
I agree. That would be like alias versus, but
I don't think it'd be that super hard, really.
It's just weird.
It would just be repetitive.
Yeah. I guess in some ways it depends on what we want to be also as like a framework. And that's why yeah, I don't know.
I almost want to side on the air of making our guides and our docs more for the quote like average user, and then the people who want to like use the individual packages and that sort of thing, they're already going to be advanced enough to know what they're doing, essentially, if they're like copy pasting from docs and what have you.
I'm just gonna throw this out here, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what we need is like a secret site. Like there's one CanJS webpage that's just like the can package, and it's just like this very straightforward, easy, use a script tag, whatever. And then there's like a GoPro, but not like the camera, but like the GoPro button. You click and it changes, it inverts. Like, we have a white website, it like turns black and the text becomes white, and just like that's just completely different. And you've like gone pro with CanJS or something. And then you use that for when you really know what the hell you're doing.
This actually, I mean, having a tab between these two options, like that's like a regex, like that would be super hard.
Yeah, as long as you had the alias versus, you know,
Yeah,
we'd have
you
to,
just
we're
need
gonna
to
have to maintain
alias
that
this
anyway.
thing. Yeah. Okay. Is that not in there like a doc map or something? It's not in there.
No, they're all individual. They all set it on their own. But we're gonna have to have that no matter what if we're gonna eventually make the be able to build tree shakeable named exports. We're gonna have to create that and maintain it anyways. Anyways.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah. Well, just the part I want to talk about. what does can become then? Does can become, if it is tree shakeable? I mean, we're not going to get rid of the individual packages, but should we transform that? Like, should it no longer do pin versions? If it's something that people use more often.
I still think it should pin versions, but
I do too. And I don't know how to reconcile the fact that, like, one of our great things is we can get patches out for the individual things and not have to do a full build. Or I feel like that's an advantage, but I feel like most people don't upgrade as frequently, so they care more about knowing that all of the packages are going to be at like stable and tested. So
yeah, I mean, I was literally just on a call with someone using CanJS, and they were annoyed that they couldn't like do the whole reason why we built it this way is like so you could just upgrade to like the latest can component, but you don't need to upgrade like everything else. But they were on the other side of the can reflect boundary, if you will, so they're not able to do it without upgrading everything. So like people really like that, but and are disappointed when it doesn't work. And that's why I think there's like I think we just need I almost think that's like we need a GoPro guide where it's like, okay, most of the site looks this way. But like when you're really ready for like if you want to make something more than just like, you know, something that's the kind of ultimate in maintainability and future proof and flexibility and whatnot, you're not going to use can package. You're going to import straight from there. And, you know, you can decide whether yourself if all that extra importing and you're going to be able to manage different packages. If you think that's worth it, then do this. I mean, I think we can.
I mean, once if we get like automatic releases set up, like then
yeah, we could do that too. Automatic.
It's not even necessarily a huge advantage to using the individuals. So it's going to be a little bit faster.
Well, it's nicer if you have like for some reason upgrading can stash bindings breaks your app, but not can connect. Or it's nicer when you do if we do like, hey, we've got this one breaking change. If we do get to the point where we're making breaking changes just in some packages, but the rest of everything else stays stable, and you don't want that breaking change because you want these other bug fixes and this other stuff, like then you can't do that there. Then.
That's true.
So,
and this is a really like limited use case, but I also think it's useful for people who do submit PRs to fix something, but they don't necessarily like go through get reviewed, release, merge, whatever. They can still point their project to that GitHub branch or whatever and use it while it's not actually released. That's a very small use case, but it's helpful when you're in that situation.
Yeah, that's why I said like I think what we should probably do is tailor it, do everything like from the can package and show it that way. And then there's one guide that's like, okay, here's the real advanced setup. Like you're going to use packages everywhere. You're not going to use the can build because you want this flexibility.
Yeah, I was thinking after Chasen, you said about Ember. You know, Ember does have all the individual packages, but everything goes through their CLI. So you don't have that problem because everyone's using the CLI. And there's not a CanJS CLI.
That's called DoneJS.
There is a DoneJS CLI. That was my next statement. Well, that's like maybe DoneJS. Maybe is the problem that DoneJS is too what's the word? It's too massive. All right. if there was like, if DoneJS were better at just being a CLI for running Steel and CanJS apps, I don't think it's bad at that. But if there was, I don't know what
I think it's fine at that. I mean, that's what DoneJS's job is mostly to be. It's just we have
so why don't we use it? Why don't we have people on CanJS.com to done it?
Well, we do point them at DoneJS.
Yeah, and I've thought about
Page it does.
maybe we should add that to the setting up too. And
There are issues like
Oh, we definitely should.
like on just like a normal HTTP server, you get like nice directory listings where you can click through and stuff, and ours are not very good.
Does DoneJS not have that? We should totally have that.
I think it kind of has it, but not
No,
really.
we should definitely add that.
Yeah,
Stuff, yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
It's
an
not
issue
it's
right
not
there.
great it's not great at being like a static server.
We should fix that. I love that. You know, about HTTP server.
Yeah.
Exploring the file system.
Right. And if that was that, and maybe there's a few other things, it would be better at that use case.
I think it would have to be lighter. I mean, that's still a big problem with DoneJS. Is like when I did it at the last meetup when I did it, Ken and I did it. They had really slow internet. It's gotten way better over since the first release, but man, so many people it's taking like minutes to install because it just brings in with it so much.
Right.
You know, there needs to be like a DoneJS add light app or something. Like no server-side rendering.
Right. Okay. Something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder how. That's why I'm wondering how other tools get around. Because, like, I know Ember, they have add-ons. So, I wonder. It's kind of like we have plugins, and if you just throw everything into a plugin, the CLI is just like doesn't do hardly any. We could throw SSR into a plugin. I don't think we should do that, but
SSR would be very hard to throw into a plugin. Probably.
What's that?
SSR would be very hard to throw into a plugin.
Yeah, it would be. But I don't know. Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Cool.
It's a good discussion.
Yep.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
No.
Don't think so. Everyone who's watching on YouTube live or afterwards, thanks for watching, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Happy birthday, Chasen.
Thank you. Bye.
Good seeing you.